We switch sides.
Yeah, after the touchdown that led off scoring here tonight, one thing I mentioned before the game is I wanted to see CJ get up early because it seems like that's what Badin does week in and week out and really just continue to throttle throughout the rest of the game. Well, CJ did that. Well, Badin just answered right back and, in fact, answered 40 without the call back.
In the shotgun, Chandler fakes the handoff. Sledge will take it past the 15-yard line. Good, strong carry there to pick up the first down for the Eagles.
For the first time practically all night, a hole opened up there inside of the line. Everything they've been doing effectively on the offensive side has been on the perimeter. Well, they were able to get a hole between that tackle and that guard, and the running back using his speed working his way upfield.
J.P. Peltier to the left side, two receivers right. Sledge still in the backfield, and he'll be wrapped up before he can get back to the line of scrimmage.
That's more like the running game that we've seen this far, as both ends coming off the edge and meeting the quarterback and running back at the handoff.
We've got a couple of backups in there now for Badin as Tyler Andery as well as Matt Rings made the stop of Sledge. Sledge will take it again, this time finding some running room, and that'll bring up first down and goal for the Eagles.
Yeah, it's finally opening up, isn't it? Right there on the inside part of the game. That wasn't even off tackle or just inside the tackle. That was right up the gut, separated and opening it up. We'll see if Badin, being on the goal line now, how many guys they put on the line. Looks like they're still going with their traditional, close to 4-4 stack.
Sledge, once again, dragged down. Looks like he might have lost the ball.
They're going to say he was on the ground. Sorry.
And it'll be marked just shy of the goal line. But, man, that was close.
Yeah, I don't know if I entirely agree with that. It looked like the ball squirted out before his knee was on the ground. That being said, I'm about 400 feet from the action. The referee's about 30, so I'll take his eyes over mine any day of the week, especially since he had a better look.
The junior Sledge fortunate on that play. He will stay in the game from the 1-yard line now, second and goal. Sledge, difficult to tell if he's in. Looks like he's going to be short once again as the backups in for Badin are now standing tall.
Yeah, they're going to call a touchdown. There wasn't any other referee besides the line judge on the far side of the field. Now they all call it. You weren't the only one confused. There was literally only one referee calling the play, and it was on the far side of the field.
Well, it took a moment to finally get it right, but in the end, Walter Sledge hammers home. That'll put the Eagles on the board for the first time since the first quarter. Kick is up and good. So now looking at a 40-14 scoreline out here in Trenton. Just a quick reminder, this game is sponsored by All Hustle. Are you in the market for team uniforms, spirit wear, or apparel for your business or special event? All Hustle would like to help. They specialize in custom design for most youth and adult sports. All Hustle will also help you with custom masks and neck gaiters if you are in need. Give All Hustle a call at 484-4444. That's 484-4444. 9:12 to play in this one, as Badin has been taking care of business here on senior night. 40-14 out here. Big plays on both sides of the ball. Got 4 separate turnovers. Bobby Young able to cash in on one of them for a house call. Couple of Landon Viderek runs. Touchdown by Jack Walsh. Braden Moore getting in the action for a touchdown run of his own. The lone score in the first half coming from Chandler to Owens on a 61-yard connection for Chaminade Julien. And then just a moment ago, Walter Sledge with the 1-yard touchdown run. correct me if I'm wrong, but now that this game is within 30 points, the running clock is over, at least for the time being.
Yeah, I imagine we'll see it a lot here. I imagine Badin, with a more than comfortable lead, will elect to just hand the ball off to Walsh and Rawlings and whoever's going to populate the backfield. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some running backs who, they want to see how they act how they play in a real-time game.
Lucas Moore will field it. Running back the other way, hits the 30, crossed the 35, and spun down to the 38-yard line.
So we'll see who takes over quarterback duties.
Ethan Fernandez on the stop for Chaminade Julian.
There's a lot of talking on the sideline, almost like they didn't know who was going out there, as it does look like it might be the second team.
It's been tough so far. Vitorek has been out there for a lot of it. Looks like the signal caller into the game for Badin tonight is going to be number 10, Dominic Pate. Pate will be there with Carter Russo in the backfield. Russo finds himself a lane and picks up the first down. Now, Russo came into the game late against Ross in week 1 in a similar situation and had a number of good carries driving down the field and was able to capitalize with a touchdown. And wonder if he'll be able to do that again here tonight.
Yeah, Carter Russo getting one right there on the stretch play, going off tackle, working his way downfield. I liked how he turned it into another gear once he got past the line of scrimmage.
Russo, a legacy student here. His father, John Russo, was a great defensive back and kick returner for the Badin Rams back in the day, as Russo makes another strong gain there on first down. Actually, John Russo, same graduating class as one Nick Yordi.
Class of, 1996?
Sounds about right to me.
I believe it is.
2nd and 3 at the 42.
Yordi went to the state semifinals, or maybe the state championship with the football team. Won a state title on the baseball team. His head coach on that Badin baseball team was Mark Mouse.
I knew this was leading somewhere. And there it is. Pate on the keeper. Not going to be able to find much running room there. Will bring up 3rd down and 6. This is a football team that has a rich history in the playoffs. They've made it 24 times in the history of the school. Runners-up in 1978 at state. Runners-up again in 1980. And then legendary coach Terry Malone able to punch them through in 1990. 16-6 win over Richfield Revere.
When Malone retired, he had the most coaching wins of all time in the state of Ohio.
360. I can't imagine being able to coach for that long. There's Russo around the left side, going to be dragged down just shy of the first, about the 40-yard line.
One of his sons, Coach Malone's sons, is on the sideline right now. Forgive me, I forget his first name. But was a quarterback back for the Rams, and he was influential in transferring Badin into the passing threat that they are.
Bring up 4th down and 2, and you imagine...
I want to say Steve Malone, sorry.
Badin's still going to go for it here, want to get reps to the second team in the event that they should need to step in the future or once this current first team has graduated. Be a timeout taken by Badin.
So, yeah, we'll see if they're going to get the punt team out there. They're not actually going to talk. They're just going to give them enough time to get them back out there. They actually didn't use a timeout. They just took a delay of game.
There we go. They'll set up 4th down and 7. Wouldn't have seemed outside the realm of possibilities, though. We've seen a couple of teams so far this season, even late in games. It's no disrespect to the other team. It's just they haven't gotten a lot of reps in the offseason. Try and get some extra live reps out there in the game as that punt is away and downed back for Chaminade.
Yeah, even I was at a game last night in which Ross, dominated Talawanda from practically the opening snap. And even late in the ball game, final few plays of the game, C.J. Bose, Jackson Gifford, their running threats were out there. And that seemed a little odd because, in past years, you put in the second team, but pretty simple. They're only getting to play 6 games.
Also that, yeah.
I mean, they're seniors. They want to get them as much football as they possibly can.
There will be an expanded playoff format this year as all teams that wish to can make the playoffs, but any one game is all it takes to bounce you out, and there's no guarantee that you'd be able to get that full 10 games, even more. So,
what's funny about the expanded playoffs is if you talk to the coaches, there seems to be at least some consensus on what it's going to look like, but the OHSAA hasn't put out a full plan on how they intend to do that. The consensus being similar to basketball and where you're playing for seeds and then you pick your spot. But the OHSAA has yet to say what they're definitely doing.
Walter Sledge takes the carry, bursts through the middle. He'll have enough for the first and across the 35-yard line.
There's going to be a full switch on the defensive line, as I believe the reserves are in there.
That was the second wave of reserves. This could be the third wave.
Well, these guys are playing for playing time on the JV team as well.
Sledge, again, trying to find some room. He'll go for close to 5 yards on first down, set up second down and 5. 5 minutes to play in this fourth quarter in a game that has been thoroughly dominated by the Badin Rams. A statement out here tonight. They already were able to beat their rival just up the road, Ross, in week 1. Handled Alter, who is always a tough test, last week, 14-12. And now with a win against Chaminade Julienne, Badin announcing themselves as the favorites to win the GCL this year.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what this schedule is in the years past, for as long as, the GCL has been a thing, at least the north side, it's kind of ran through Alter, CJ. Badin's always been right there in the showing. But to go out in their first 2 league games and take out typically their biggest 2 threats, I mean, that says a lot about this team that people were talking about before the season as being down. Well, they've shown here in the first 3 weeks that, hey, we're not that down. We've got some athletes, and we're playing great football.
And especially they lost as that pass is disrupted there in the backfield. Coming in with the contact, Matt Rings. Bring up fourth down. But Badin had lost some starters, yes, but more on the offensive side of the ball.
Yep.
They kept a lot of starters on that defensive side.
Well, they did lose their middle linebacker in Evan Schlinsker.
Sure. And I'm not saying that they didn't lose anybody, but they were able to keep some building pieces to be able to keep that defense rolling, and that allows a little bit of an ease up of pressure on the offense. They're not being asked to do as much, and with a little less pressure to deal with, they seem to be flourishing here in the early going of the season. Kick is away, and Badin will let it drop, takes a Chaminade bounce, and rolls past the 15.
But you're absolutely right in your assessment on Badin. The one thing that people were talking about is they lost Zach Schweitzer, they lost Alex DeLong, they lost Josh Hegeman, amongst other very talented players. But you know what they kept intact? And that is the offense. A lot of the offensive line, a lot of the defensive line. Granted, there are some pieces that needed to be filled in, but still, what's being played at the line of scrimmage is mostly the same of what we saw from last year's team that went all the way to the regional championship. And we've already seen that Baden, at least weapon-wise, has some comparable replacements for at least Zach Schweitzer, Josh Hageman, and Alex DeLong.
Yeah, they have certainly been able to answer the bell so far. Dallas Rawlings, Jack Walsh forming a pretty decent 1-2 punch and getting in some decent receivers in there as well. Lucas Moore, Braden Moore, and of course, at signal caller, being able to replace a great quarterback like Schweitzer. Landon Viderek has done yeoman's work so far in this season to be the backup. Coming in and being quite the starter in his junior year.
We just saw something kind of funny that sometimes happens in these, blowout type of games late in the ball game. They're trying to get some reserves in, trying to get them some time. Well, these sophomores that are on the JV team, they didn't think they were going to come into play, so they're hanging around the sideline. All of a sudden, they got a big lead, and the entire sideline's yelling for an offensive lineman, "Hey, get out there! You're supposed to be in." He's just out chillaxing.
3:40 left to play in this affair. 40-14. And a stop and play. As Baden finally gets everything set up. New signal caller in for Baden.
I thought they said he was number 9 over to my right. He's wearing 27.
So it looks like Bryson Fox then.
But I don't want to hold that for
if that's correct. It's going to be toughy. We'll try and figure that one out for you. A little bit of jersey swapping going along as Russo cuts to the outside, and he'll get close to midfield. And at quarterback there was Alec Ritzy. And after a play in which he was able to hand off the ball, Dominic Pate back into the game at quarterback. Inside of 3 minutes, clock continues to run. First and 10 at midfield for the second platoon of the Rams offense. Handoff Russo. This time spun down to the turf by Jaleel Twitty.
It's been amazing what Baden's been able to do. They had this identity for so long about being this ground and pound, the Terry Malone era. Then Dave Worth came in and, spreaded it out, did everything. Then when he went away, they went right back to the wing T. And then, that was with the last coach. Coach Yordy comes in, does similar things, but has been a completely different animal ever since they've been just spreading out this field. I remember talking to one of the coaches, I forget who it was, in the GCL, but they said, all right, well, Baden wants to line up wide. We'll let him do that. Well, that's come back to bite them, as ever since they've done that, they've been kind of a different class here in the GCL.
Dominic Pate with the keeper will bring up third down and short. I was actually at that game last year, one of them in that critical turning point, where they came out against Edgewood.
Mm-hmm.
And I called play-by-play. Michael Pate was in there on the color. And I totally thought going into that one that Edgewood was going to have a dominant effort that night. And Baden came out there and just punched him in the mouth, and they did not let up. Looks like Pate is going to have enough for the first. Crowd and the bench loves it for the young man.
I didn't see who got the carry. It wasn't Pate.
Just short of the first down. It's fourth and less than a yard.
But, yeah, the crowd was cheering for them. They don't give them the first down, just short. But, yeah, just a completely different team as we're here in the final minute and really have never looked back.
Fourth down, inside of a minute to play, and this will likely be the last one to ice it if Baden picks up the first. He does not, and the clock will stop at 26 seconds. So Chaminade will have one last possession in this game at the 44-yard line.
They were letting Tommy Hogan do the carrying there, and he's listed on our roster as a defensive lineman.
That's just fun. When I guess that's a fun part of high school athletics, when you're able to get in and have somebody to root for, almost in that Rudy sort of fashion,
sure,
where a guy that you just love to throw your arms around get some extra playing time.
Yeah, it is always fun. You know, these guys, they work hard, just like they don't get the same play time as other people, but they're still at practice every single day, still working hard, just being a part of the program and helping any way they can. To get some time out there underneath the lights is always a sight to see.
As we said, 26 seconds to play in this one, and a timeout called by Chaminade. They'll take a timeout, and so will we. Back after this.
If you're trying to choose between crispy or sizzling, remember, the or is optional.
Bundle 6-piece Chicken McNuggets or a double cheeseburger with small fries for just $3.
Ba-da-ba-ba-ba.
Coming back in, Chatterbox Live, bringing you Saturday Night Football. That's a final run coming in from Chaminade. Amari Lattimore taking the ball there, picking up a first down. Good, strong carry.
Yeah, the clock's going to start once they move the chains, and it just did. They're looking to get in the end zone one last time.
And that run is going to be all she wrote. Baden on senior night improves to 3-0